What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Michael Carpenter is reporting that Canelo Alvarez is now open to the possibility of fighting Triple G in September in a trilogy. Canelo Alvarez had previously stated that he had no interest in fighting Triple G, said that he has nothing to prove fighting Triple G, that he won the second fight in convincing fashion, and that he had moved on with his boxing career, and that chapter of his boxing life had been closed. That's basically what Canelo Alvarez had been saying, but a change of heart, looking at the landscape, specifically after the opponent that he'll fight on May 2nd. You're looking at, guys like Andrade, Charlo, Callum Smith, who's a real big 168-pounder. You've got options like that, and I think probably the best option monetarily and a less of a risk would be Triple G, who has shown wear and tear in his last couple of fights. So I think Canelo is looking at that and thinking as a businessman instead of a boxer, and I think he's looking at Triple G as his next opponent in September. Now, I've heard that he's very close to agreeing to a matchup with Billy Joe Saunders for May 2nd, Cinco de Mayo. Billy Joe Saunders in his last fight looked horrible, looked like trash against a guy I never heard of. He struggled in that fight, didn't look himself. People started to wonder when he was off the PEDs, which he was using, and got banned before the Andrade fight, which was supposed to take place in Boston on DAZN, that he, after he's off the PEDs, a lot of people speculate that he looked like trash, and that was the reason why he did look like trash, was because he was no longer using the PEDs. So he's gonna have a lot to prove, man. I like Billy Joe though, man. Billy Joe looked very good against Andy Lee and against David Lemieux. So if that Billy Joe Saunders shows up, man, it should be a terrific matchup between him and Canelo Alvarez. But if the Billy Joe Saunders that showed up in his last fight show up against Canelo on May 2nd, then this is going to be an easy dominating win for Canelo Alvarez. But again, man, Canelo is looking at, after that fight, at Triple G. I've been saying, man, boxing is a business, and it's all about making dollars, all about making sense. People talk about, oh, man, I want to see Canelo fight Charlo. That's a good fight. I'll buy that fight. But I'm a hardcore boxing fan. The casual fan ain't really checking for Canelo versus Charlo. They're not checking for Canelo versus Andrade. It'll sell. Subscription will be increased, but that's not something that's going to move the needle necessarily. It'll move the needle to a certain extent because of Canelo, but it's not something that's, that's going to have the casual fans excited about that matchup, because they don't really know Charlo and Andrade like that. But you put Canelo against Triple G, that's box office. That's going to sell. That's going to draw in the casual fan. And DAZN and John Skipper's been trying to make this fight ever since they signed Canelo Alvarez and Triple G. And it looked like for the longest that fight wasn't going to get made, as Canelo, kept saying that he had no interest in fighting Triple G for a third time. But it looks like that's something that's now possibility of happening. And that fight will take place September 2nd. September, it'll be second week of September, Mexican Independence Day. So that's what Michael Carpenter is reporting on Twitter, that fight will take place in September. So that's what you're going to see Canelo fight in 2020. That's the Canelo Alvarez fight plan for 2020. Fight Billy Joe Saunders May 2nd, Cinco de Mayo, and after that, do the Triple G trilogy in September, Mexican Independence Day. And then that'll probably be it for 2020. Maybe he squeeze one more fight at the end of the year, December. If that's the case, look for him to probably go over there to Tokyo Dome, and fight Ryan Morata. Yeah, Ryan Morata over there in Japan, in the Tokyo Dome. As you remember, that was the venue of the biggest upset to this date in boxing history, when Mike Tyson was knocked out by Buster Douglas, who was 100 to 1 underdog, if I'm not mistaken, in that fight. As that fight had to get moved to Japan, because Mike Tyson was knocking guys out so quickly that people started getting kind of fed up paying high dollar prices for first round knockouts, not getting their entertainment value that they felt. So they had to kind of move. They had to start finding different places for Mike Tyson to fight. So this was supposed to be basically a tune-up fight for Mike Tyson. and you know, easy opponent and an easy money grab in Tokyo as they put up big money to bring Tyson over there, and instead produced the biggest upset in boxing history. Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson. I think it was in the 10th round. So that'll be something that could possibly take place at the end of the year with Canelo and Ryan Mariota, depending on if he gets through the next fight with Triple G in September with no injuries and no significant cuts or nothing that could sideline him for a while. If he comes out of that fight in pretty decent health, I think they could possibly make that fight with Ryan Mariota in a Tokyo Dome in Japan. But that's the Canelo pretty much scheduled for 2020, man. So we'll see what happens, see what transpires once those fights officially get announced. We'll see what happens. But again, Triple G versus Canelo Alvarez, September, Independence Day. John skipping the zone of doing backflips, cartwheels, and jumping up and down and going crazy about this news. This has been the fight. This has been the #1 fight that they've been trying to make since they signed those two guys, and it looked like they had hit a dead end, and it wasn't gonna never happen. But you know, Canelo Alvarez, being the businessman that he is, and he is a businessman, looked at the landscape, and he figured that would be the best fight monetarily wise and be the best fight as far as risk wise, as Triple G is showing his age. But I think the fight is going to be, if it's, you know, very, very exciting, because I think Triple G has one great fight left in him. It'll be against Canelo Alvarez. A lot of bad blood. That's a rivalry going on. It'll be the third fight. I thought Triple G won the first fight. The second fight, I think I had it maybe a draw, but if anybody deserved to win the second fight, it was Canelo, as he landed the most significant, the more effective punches throughout that fight. But it was a very close fight, so I wouldn't mind seeing a third fight. And I think Triple G would try his best to turn back the clock and go back to the Triple G that fought Canelo in both of those fights, and look to put on a vintage Triple G performance against Canelo Alvarez, who's shown that he's one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in boxing today. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires, man. But that's what I'm hearing, man, from Michael Coppinger. Leave your comments in the comment section if you think Canelo Triple G 3 is a good fight. If you think it's a bad fight, you think Canelo should be fighting another opponent. Leave your comments in the comment section. Tell me what you think. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.